Hello, everyone. I am Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another installment of the Star Wars EU Bible study. Tonight, we're looking at continuing our look at the Star Wars Allegiance by the great Timothy Zahn, and we are in chapters 13 through 15 tonight. I'm starting the study like 5 minutes early, whatever. I was going to go on early because I did have a little rant about the kind of identity politics superhero characters, but I don't think I've got enough time to really get into that and fully flesh it out before we start the study. And Al is standing by, or I'm sorry, Al Baca is standing by for the study. So welcome to everyone we've got here thus far. More people will trail in once the live announcement gets off the ground here. But Alec Purdue, welcome. Great to see you. Go Team Ghost Planet Go. Always a joy to have you. Horizon Talker. Hello, the chat. Hello, Horizon Talker. And of course, my dear sound engraver. Hello, my handsome prof. Great, great. So yeah, I don't know when I'll do the when I do the rant. I don't know. Al and I are gonna chat a little bit after the stream tonight, so maybe another day. I don't know. Welcome to Couchstub, if I'm pronouncing that right. But welcome to you. And let me go ahead and bring in, without further ado, my co-host for the book streams. Welcome, Mr. Al Baca.
Ewok in the street, Wookiee in the sheets. What can I say?
Have you been practicing that? You've been waiting for that?
I thought of it about 30 seconds ago while I was waiting.
Oh, that means you shed in the sheets a lot.
I do, my friend, I do.
Oh, man.
You know how hairy I am.
You are a hairy one, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
'Tis for sure. How are you, sir?
I'm hanging in there, trying to.
Good.
Rough day, but
yeah,
someone came to my aid, so I'm happy.
Oh, that's good. Well, glad everything's working out there. I'll be up there this Sunday to hang out with you.
Yay.
So we can watch a movie or something like that. So gonna go ahead and start the Star Wars in a moment here. Katstu must be a new listener because he's asking what we think about DC's New 52. I loathe the DC New 52. Now
I just had a flashback to like 5 years ago.
I know. I haven't talked about it in a while, granted, because it's just so long ago. But no, it was horrible. It marked the downfall of everything great at DC. That's not to say that in hindsight you can't look to a single contained story that might have had some merit or something like that. But no, the administrative changes that were forced upon the characters was garbage, and it took them out of all of their glorious what they should have been. That was the administrated, dictated downfall of Superman. Make him darker. Make the whole DC universe more like Batman. Batman. That was DiDio's incredibly idiotic brainchild that ultimately got him fired, as well it should have. Much too late, unfortunately. But there we go. That was probably a little bit more of a stronger answer than you were hoping for. But there it is. So I guess we can go ahead and start. We've got these 3 chapters. Now, you'll notice that if you look at the title cards, last week we were technically supposed to cover chapter 13, but I'd bitten off a little bit more than we could chew just an hour, because I like to keep these right around an hour length. I don't like to go too much over that because it can get tedious and whatnot. So we stopped before we jumped into chapter 13. So we're going to go ahead and start with chapter 13 tonight and see if we can make it up to 14 and 15. A lot does happen, but as I was going through and marking and kind of planning for it, I realized there's not as many passages that I necessarily feel like I have to read. So I don't know how long it's going to take. Part of it is, but what I want us to pay attention to as we go through it is our growing theme that we've been looking at of actual allegiance. The book's called Allegiance, and it really is about that. Different characters' allegiances are being tested, being broken a lot of times, being reassigned or realigned, so to speak. But then there's also this theme of the hand. And the hand plays into the allegiance theme because, your right hand, does your right hand know what your left hand's doing? You're somebody's right-hand man. And we have that with the Emperor's hand, obviously, Mara. We have that with the Hand of Judgment. Our rogue stormtroopers call themselves that. And we'll see a lot of imagery with hand. We'll see it come through even in tonight a little bit. So, who's your right hand man? Who's the person you could trust, and so forth. So, uh,
I still love when he just came up with that on the fly, and all the guys were like, "What?"
Yep. He's like, all right, somebody say it. Like, Hand of Judgment. You could have just made up any number, any trooper assignment number, whatever. The Hand of Judgment. But it's cool moniker for the rogue team of stormtroopers out there.
Mhm.
So, chapter 13, we return to Mara. And I really like with Mara here. We talked about before, this is an interesting place with her because she's in between. Well, she's still in absolute servitude to the emperor, and she's brainwashed by him, not literally, but just kind of conditioned. She thinks he's wonderful, he's a kindly old man, he's the hope for the empire. She doesn't see, she's not shown any of the real ugliness that he perpetrates. Go ahead.
She sees in him what she needs to see,
Mhm.
or what she wants to see.
Yeah, and it's a very different Mara from where we met her in the Thrawn trilogy, because in some ways she's a little more capable right now because she hasn't been through the great impact that the Emperor's death was. She hasn't had to reinvent herself. She hasn't had to keep hearing his voice in her head telling her to kill Luke Skywalker and so forth. So she's got this she's got skills, but at the same time I think Zahn handles her well in that she's still young, impressionable, and she's going to make mistakes, but she's very gutsy, as we'll see. And we left off with her anyway. She had this plan. She contacted the nearest Imperial starship to that pirate raid. Ended up being the starship that our stormtroopers escaped from. So they think the Emperor's hand is now onto them for letting the rogue stormtroopers slip away, kill an ISB agent, steal an ISB ship, and all that stuff. But she's on this mission now. She got into a civilian ship, and they're flying into the pirate hideout. She's got Tanis, who is one of the pirates that she took hostage. She basically made a deal with him. She said, you come along, you try to pitch me as somebody interested in making a deal with the Commodore of the pirates there, or else, you'll go to Prison Planet. But if you do this for me, you'll be basically pardoned. And then she shows him that she has the Jedi powers or whatever, as far as he knows. She's not a proper Jedi. Obviously, she's not anything like a Jedi. She's not even a proper Sith. But force sensitive, able to use some force powers and abilities, and even a lightsaber. So to a extent. So we open with they're on their way. She wanted two troopers from that ship, and the ISB agent ended up giving him two of his ISB agents. She figured that out, but thought it was just because they want the glory of helping the Emperor's hand, which is a little, she thinks a bit much of herself in terms of the way other people would think of her. They're not going to think anything of her like that, but they think she's on to them with the stormtroopers and the missing ISB agent and all of that kind of thing. So they think that their plan is to try and kill her. These two ISB agents have been tasked with killing her eventually at some point. So she's on the in the ship, flying to the Commodore's, the pirate base. It says Mara's training had included a basic overview of starship operation, but most of that had been geared towards the military craft. Fortunately, Tanis seemed to know his way around civilian ships like the Harper's Way, as did the two-man Colonel Somerville had sent with her. Those are the two ISB agents. She also, the ISB agents, she said they're normally cold, but these two are exceptionally so because they're planning on killing her eventually. No wonder. But it says, as a result, Mara focused on Tanis, spending as much free time with him as possible as she tried to learn everything she could about the rest of the Gundark she was flying into, about the nest of Gundark she was flying into, meaning the pirate base. So that's good reconnaissance, but we're also going to see this this time spent with Tanis is kind of a it's not on the surface, but I think it's a little bit of an allegiance builder,
a little bit of bonding.
Yeah, a little bit, kind of tacitly there. So as they make it into the to the pirate base, there's a lot of different things that happen here and there. She does Mara steps out before the pirates come to meet them, and they're going to have to question them and search them and everything. She hides her lightsaber. She takes it off of one of her gloves and puts the glove outside on the ship so she can have access to it. Lightsaber fits into the glove perfectly. Again, the glove, the hand, lightsaber being, is your weapon, your hand, So oh, that's right, my dear Santa Graver. I mentioned you earlier. Yeah, it didn't get cut off. I saw you there. But thank you for just reaffirming your support of me. Appreciate that.
Aw.
Um, so yeah, she reached the engine room, popped the maintenance access cover leading to the thermal vent beneath the engines. Pulling a pair of black combat gloves from her dark green jumpsuit, she slipped one over each end of the lightsaber, leaving off the middle few centimeters of shiny metal uncovered. In the relative darkness out there, the gloves could adequately shield the weapon from unfriendly eyes. And her plan here, as she does, is they drive her along from where the ship's parked to the main building or whatever the Commodore's where he abides there. She's using the Force to trail it along, to have it following them along. And she's, as she says, no one's going to see that. They get to the pirates there, and they're forced to come in and search her. Now, she knows this. She knows that she needs to be searched. But this is a power play. This is a kind of a cool thing to do here. She's not going to let herself be manhandled. This girl that shows up to this pirate base and just let them do whatever they want to her. There's a little bit of a power play. She's got to assert herself a little bit, as man or woman would have to a certain degree. So let's see. Bobbler growled. Tannis closed his mouth for Ari. Mark, let's see. Turning slightly, she sent warning looks at Brock and Gilling. They turned back to face Bobbler. You really shouldn't deal with guests this way, she commented. Oh, he commented. Why is that? The two men reached Mara, and the first man's fingers started to close around her right upper arm. Mara moved her arm inward in response, the motion breaking his partial grip as it pulled him slightly off balance. Cursing under his breath, he lunged toward her, grabbing again for the arm. Mara leaned a little bit farther out of his reach, then dropped suddenly into a crouch, and the second man also tried to grab her. Both sets of hands swept uselessly through the air above her, snapping their own heads out to both sides. Mara delivered a double punch into the exposed stomachs, then deftly yanked their blasters from their holsters. All right, so it would seem like, what are you doing, Mara? You're supposed to be going undercover here, and suddenly you're attacking them. The men recovered from the punches and tried again, but again, they were a fraction of a second too late. Mara stood upright, swinging the blasters upward as she did to deliver solid blows to their jaws. And as they staggered backwards, she flipped the weapons around into firing position and pointed both of them at Bobbler. For a second, she held that pose, stretching out with her senses as she gauged the stunned silence around her. Before any of the pirates could recover, though, enough to start wondering if he should try to hem her around, she raised the weapon to point at the sky. I meant your men should disarm themselves before searching people, she said loudly. Flipping the blasters again in their hands to grip the barrels, she stepped forward and offered them to Bobbler. So that little bit of a power play showing you can have armed men come and try to take me down as you want, but I'm going to take their guns from them,
Mm-hmm.
And it says, I'm doing this for you. So you'll learn not to have armed men come and search people. And as a result, they use the scanner on her instead of the searching because no one wants to go that close to her anymore. But it asserts herself a little bit there. Someone to be taken seriously.
It does seem like when she is dealing with people, she's almost talking to them as if they are children.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am so much more than you, and you really need to learn better.
Yeah. And with the pirates, that serves her well because it's that sort of schoolyard, she's got to assert herself to somebody to be taken seriously. But it does serve as a little bit of hubris in her character, too, because she, in her delusion, the empire is wonderful and everything's fine. She thinks, well, the emperor made me his emperor's hand. That means everybody's, of course, going to respect me and give me all of the and want to be in my presence for the honor that position is due. And that's simply not the case, as we'll see.
Yeah. I just want to say something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Santa Graver.
She said, "Oh yeah," she said hi to you. So she's brought eventually to meet the Commodore of the ships. She mentioned how these pirates love to use military titles or whatever. So she always messing with my mic, but it was just a little high there.
Okay. Again?
I know. I just adjusted it and stuff. The Commodore, when she goes to meet him, this is interesting. He's floating on his back in this pool. He's got his a cloth draped over his eyes, and he's just here at the lapping of the water. his ears, I think, are probably partially underwater or whatever, but he's, can hear her. And that's how she meets him. And he tells her, he says, is it right here? Please don't dismiss me as an eccentric or worse, insane. What I am doing here is silencing all my other senses, the better to hear your voice and judge your honesty. Does that worry you? And then she realizes he's not a Jedi, of course, but he's got this. This is the practice that some people did, even in the Empire, that she remembered, where they tried to block out all distractions to their senses, so they can really focus on somebody's voice. And it's a similar. It's slightly different. It uses a different sense. It uses sight, hearing instead of sight. But it's like looking at somebody's microaggressions. People who are really good at reading somebody if they're lying and they can sense microaggressions or whatever in the face. Similar to that, but it's with hearing, and that does put her on her guard a little bit. And she starts using the force as she's talking to kind of open a window a little bit, or to kind of like stir the water and lap some water, just to provide little bits of distraction, to him, so that he won't uncover her. He doesn't totally believe her story. Her story, of course, as we said last week, that she was her gang hit the pirate ship just as Tanis's did, or they were hijacking it, but they decided to work together and try to come strike a deal with the pirates, the Bloodscars. She eventually says something about Captain Shako, the captain who was Tanis's captain there, said, yeah, he told me about the patron or whatever. And Commodore eventually speaks up abruptly, says, you're lying. Mara froze. Had he sensed the sudden heightened interest beneath the words? I'm not lying, she protested, trying to buy a little time. The 4 nearest bodyguards would have to be taken out first, and she'd have to make sure to get a hold of at least one blaster in the process. You are, the Commodore shot back. Shako would never have mentioned our patron. And with that, Mara felt her tension wash away. So he hadn't anything incriminating, but was simply using supposition and logic against her. Well, he said, she insisted, he told me someone named Caldra was waiting for the goods. Caldra, abruptly the Commodore laughed, the suspicion vanishing even as the movement sent small waves through the water. Oh, no. Caldra isn't our patron. He merely works for him. So, it's good. It's good. Good tension. Good tension. Oh, did I say microaggressions, Art? Thank you. Yes, I did mean microexpressions. Sorry. I work in the college field. I hear about microaggressions. Yeah, I meant microexpressions. Thank you. Thank you for that.
I was wondering about that, but I didn't want to touch it. I didn't
Yes.
wasn't quite sure.
I meant microexpressions. Yeah. Brain flub. Sorry about that. Thanks for the correction, though.
But
Go ahead.
I will say that, you would think about saying Caldra kind of gives a little bit away. Oh, he doesn't. He kind of gave something away there to her about Caldra.
Yeah. Now, it does give away a Caldra, and Caldra is there, she finds out. Why, this is Caldra, the Commodore said, as Caldra and the 2 of the men came toward the pool. The man your stolen cargo belongs to, and the man who came here to warn us about you, Selena, ship thief. She said her name was Selena. He paused dramatically, and something in the half of his face Mara could see warned her, as he suddenly was listening very hard. Or should I say, Selena, Imperial Agent? Because remember, last time we met Caldra, he was talking to Distra, who was over there in the city. Forgetting the section. I'll get to it in the next chapter here. But they're the ones behind getting the Bloodscars, these pirates, to cover their tracks with what they're trying to do, steal up Imperial weapons. They're ultimately planning this coup and everything. But so Caldra knows about an Imperial agent. Remember, he and Distra said, these stormtroopers who keep showing up. How do they keep showing up? Well, it was, of course, just our team of the Emperor, or the Hand of Judgment out there, randomly showing up and being the sort of like Robin Hood characters that they are. But they concluded that it must be an Imperial agent around. They don't necessarily know it's the Emperor's hand or what that is necessarily just yet, but they say you're an Imperial agent. So she has to kind of fight herself out of this, and it's a good way of doing it. Silently, without any obvious orders, the 4 men at the head of the pool drew their blasters. With a supreme effort, Mara kept her face expressionless as she looked again at Tanis's pinched expression. So all her instincts, not to mention her threats and bribes, had been for nothing. Tanis had betrayed her. She thinks Tanis had betrayed her. Oh, so now I'm an Imperial agent, she retorted, putting some contempt into her voice. There was certainly no point in making this easy for them. How very convenient for someone. What are you talking about? The Commodore demanded. I'm talking about how convenient it is that there's a stranger in town whom your friend can point fingers at. She eyed Caldra as he came to stop a couple meters from her. Let me guess, things aren't going too well at his end? Caldra's face hardened. Nice try, Imperial, but you're wasting your time, he growled. The Commodore knows who I am. I never said he didn't, Mara countered, intrigued by the intensity of his retort. Did that mean things weren't really going well for him and his patron? I'm just pointing out that shifting blame is a time honored way of trying to wriggle out of trouble. She had hoped to goad him into continuing his rant and perhaps saying something useful, but the moment had passed and he was back on balance. Sounds just like what you're trying to do right now, he countered calmly. I'm just trying to keep the Commodore from making a mistake that will cost him potential allies and possibly cost me my life, Mara said. So let's stop the pouting and snarled words and figure out how I can prove who I am. You could tell us exactly how you gained possession of the Hopper's Way, said the Commodore asked. Caldra, as the Commodore asked, Caldra said, or you could take me to your alleged base to talk to your alleged chief. Not until we have a deal, Mara said firmly, part of her wondering why she was still playing this game. Tanis's betrayal made the whole thing rather ridiculous. And then suddenly it struck her. Caldra and the Commodore both had referred to her as simply an Imperial agent, but Tanis knew that her actual title was Emperor's Hand. She looked again at Tanis, realizing now that the tension in his face was not due to betrayal, but to the knowledge that his head was on the execution block right beside Mara's. Mm-hmm. And with that, she suddenly had her way out. So she realizes Tanis isn't the one who betrayed her, and she talks her way out of this. Really getting her see her ability as that smooth operator, which I think comes from her confidence, which comes from her delusions about the Empire, you know. But again, I don't want to sit there and read the whole chapter. Eventually, they come to an arrangement. They're going to have to keep talking to figure things out, to see if they can trust her and so forth. But right now, let's adjourn. Let's have some dinner and so forth. That ends us out in chapter 13.
I'm surprised they just didn't blast her. It's like the bad guys just, you know what, we don't need this.
Well, the pirates are trying to build their allies, though. Remember, that's where Han and so they're trying to increase their numbers. So she could be an ally if she is who she says she is, an asset, you know. Chapter 14, we switch over to Leia. And last time we left Leia, she was to go to Makron City, where this Shiv Kyrie, this official Shiv Kyrie, was there because he says that the Shelsha sector is they don't have a lot of rebel contacts or rebel alliances in the Shelsha sector yet. The Rebel Alliance is considering just letting the Shelsha sector go, put all their resources and other things. But this official of this Makron City, Shiv Kyrie, says that he knows for a fact the governor wants to what's the word? Sorry, blanking out. Secede from the Empire. Yeah. And he knows that because he's been talking to the Governor Chor's official, his first minister, who is Distra, who, of course, we know is in with the pirates and all of that. Mm-hmm. So Leia arrives at the city. Shiv Kyrie is the one that we talked about last time, who's very much interested in honor. He sees Leia as above him, as his honored guest. That means he has to treat her with utmost respect. He says, of course, you'll stay at my lodgings. She says, no, I'm not staying at your lodgings. I don't know if I can really trust this Distra or, be safe here. He's like, well, I'll arrange someplace for you. She's like, well, how about this place right here? And he's just in awe, like, oh, that's what does he say? He said, this place is unfit even for filthier Adarians, he objected. If you insist on a hotel, let me find a place suitable for you. And she eventually says, look, we need to be the ones to set it up. If you're going around sending servants out to help us with this, it's going to make it even seem more suspicious. And this pains him deeply. He does not like this, And it's interesting that, just in terms of building themes like that, you think about the allegiances. His allegiance is to his customs, right? His culture's customs. Mm-hmm. And he even says when she gets there, it says, Makron City billed itself as the second city of spires. It was an obvious allusion to one of the Imperial Center's former titles in the days when it was known as Coruscant, before the Republic had gradually built up the planet to the point that the most of the old spires had been otherwise obscured, or taller buildings were quietly torn down. Leia had seen pictures of what Imperial Center had looked like back then, and Makron City was definitely a poor waif's version of the ancient grandeur. So the whole city itself has this sort of, delusion about itself and how important it is or wonderful it is. So Shiv Kyrie's kind of a pain in the butt to deal with a little bit.
But you could see why they sent Leia.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, can you imagine Han dealing with this guy?
No, 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 no. Leia is the diplomat extraordinaire. I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen her in the Thrawn trilogy, all the amazing things that she's done with the Nogri and everything like that. She's the one to negotiate, and she's very good at reading people, incredibly good at reading, well, diplomats in that setting. Han's good at
Mhm.
reading people too in his own, types of settings. But they say, okay, we're going to meet this minister, and he'll prove to you what I'm saying. This Distra, and Distra's there. Distra sees them coming, and Distra immediately recognizes Leia,
Yeah.
and he thinks, "Sweet, here's a win." I can turn in Leia to Vader, to the Empire, because she's
You,
like,
you can see his eyes suddenly turn into a little dollar sign.
exactly,
Ding!
exactly. And he's talking to the Leia and her. The other ministers are there with her. They don't say who they are. They don't use their actual names, but he knows who she is. And they're talking. Um, he's trying to get information. I presume you're staying at a friend's home? No, we made other arrangements, Organa said. A wise idea, Distra said. How do I get in touch with you? We'll call you tomorrow morning, Organa said, standing. Distra frowned up at her. No other questions? Let's see if what you have in the way of allies, she said, as the others also rose to their feet. Then perhaps we'll have more questions. Because she asked him, how many allies do you have in this coup against the Empire? And he said, oh, I'll have to get that information for you. Probably go back to my office and work that up for a while. And she just cuts the meeting short right then and there. And when they leave, Shiv
Yeah,
Kyrie is go ahead.
I can say she's definitely a lot more. She's not as gullible as
Mm-hmm.
Shikari is. Shikari
Yeah,
seems to, oh well, he has his little his tiers and his beliefs,
yeah,
and he
yeah,
and he sees that everybody else should just automatically fit in there.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
no, he doesn't believe that this guy would do anything against him.
Yeah, he can't conceive of a world beyond his
Hmm.
customs. Yeah, just simply can't do it. So they leave, and we do stick with Distra for a moment, and he calls the port, and he says, "This is Chief Administrator Distra. I want an immediate travel ban on all ships carrying humans, because he does not want her to leave that planet. He wants, to find her."
That's racial profiling.
Then we cut over to Leia and Shiv Kyrie, and Shiv Kyrie says, "If you will forgive my impertinence, that was extremely impolite." Shiv Kyrie chided Leia, and as they traveled the 20 paths, twisty paths between the market's booths and plant standing, he was my guest at my table, and I had questions I wished to ask. Vocoli asked one of the other ones with him. Leia ignored both of them, and they're saying, "Well, maybe I'll just call him back and apologize." And Leia says, "Do not contact him. Don't ever contact him." She says, "I don't know exactly," Leia told him, "but there was something terribly wrong about him. He was planning to turn her in." She realized it. She realized that he recognized her, and she just reads people very well. Now, she
Hmm.
doesn't have any hard proof, so how's she going to convince them of this? But she eventually says, "We need to go. I want you to call right now. Call to get me a ship. Make my ship ready." And as you wish, I'm sorry, he says, as you wish, Leia said, looking around the taxi station. Please call your pilot immediately and have the ship prepped for us. Silently, Shiv Kyrie pulled out his comlink and keyed it on. It was an answer. It was answered, and he launched into a chatter in Adarese, his foreign language there. Leia grimaced. Even with her limited knowledge of Adarian culture, she knew that holding a conversation in a language a tier superior guest didn't understand was a violation of etiquette. Apparently, Shiv Kyrie's estimation of her status had dropped at least 2 levels in the past few minutes, which meant he no longer was going to listen to what she had to say. Against her advice, he would continue with his plan, pulling his group out of the rebel alliance, and if he left, others would follow until perhaps their fragile coalition ceased to exist. Shiv Kyrie keyed off and returned the comlink to his belt. How soon may we leave? Slani asked. You may not, Shiv Kyrie said, his voice grim. Humans have been forbidden to leave Shelkowa. Vakoli stopped abruptly. What did you say? It appears Princess Leia was correct, Shiv Kyrie said, bowing his head to her in a gesture of humility and remorse. Administrator Distra has betrayed us. So now we've got, at least he's no longer a jerk now. He finally realizes what a pompous, hubristic, jerk he'd been. But he's again this theme of allegiance. He just knew that things were allied to his worldview. They're not. Distra betrayed them. We get this language of betrayal and stuff like that. But now he's all the more tied to Leia. So he's all the more he has allegiance to her because that's his custom demands it. He's made a breach, and we'll see that played out in the future chapters with them. But they have to figure out what the heck they're going to do now. So that's where we kind of leave them trying to figure things out. They're going to go back to the hotel. They're going to get their goods. At one point, even says they had reached the air taxi station, and Leia could see that one of the brightly colored vehicles dropping around them. Others will go, Shiv Kyrie said firmly, but I will stay. So the rest of them are aliens there. She says, well, you guys can leave. He only wants me. Shiv Kyrie says, no, I will stay. Shiv Kyrie, she said, no, you are a guest, and this is my home, the Adarian repeated in a tone that offered no room for argument. He looked at Vocoli and Solani. You, go at once, serve the Alliance and the cause of freedom. His face hardened, and live in the knowledge that you and your organizations were indeed right. We will leave for the sake of our people, Vocoli said gravely, and we will pray that your error does not cost you your life. He reached out a hand and touched Shiv Kyrie's fingertips. May fortune smile her protection upon you. Solani bowed silently. A few seconds later, they were in the sky, headed for the spaceport. And upon you as well, Shiv Kyrie murmured, as he and Leia watched the taxi disappear over the city spires. Come, he said, taking her arm. We will return to the hotel to retrieve your effects. He gave her a tight no, she said that. She said, come, we must return to the hotel to retrieve effects. He gave her a tight, shamefaced smile, and then in Adarian, will show you the true meaning of a secrecy. So he's going to help her out here at this point. We learn a little bit more what happens later with them. At the end of the chapter, we get Distra, again, just trying the governor tells him, oh, how did you dare close off the ports? This is making me look bad and so forth. And he tells her, he doesn't tell him that Princess Leia is there. He says, oh, there's a plan to rob you of your artwork. He plays off the governor's, vanity and greed. So it shows, he doesn't have any allegiance to his governor. Obviously, he wants to overrule the governor. That's why he's doing all this. But interesting chapter with the allegiances, hand, and all of that. Again, right-hand man. Distra is Chor's right-hand man, but he's betraying him. And Al, you jump in if I'm skipping over anything too quickly or anything.
Okay.
Chapter 15, our last chapter for tonight.
Hold on, you did skip over something because Dizra makes a phone call.
Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, you go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, he initiates a holo message. He's like, I have an urgent message for the Emperor and Lord Vader. And then I get the impression that it's this, what do you want?
Reception is typical.
To them,
yeah.
That is, tell them I've located Princess Leia Organa of Alderaan, Dizra said, and that I have her trapped. He had the satisfaction of seeing her, the woman's dulled eyes actually widen. One moment, she said, her voice suddenly brisk and professional. Let me transfer you directly to Lord Vader's command ship.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the way they get your call forwarded fast.
Yeah, and people grasping for power is another little subtle theme we see with our villains in this book. Whether the pirates themselves trying to pretend to titles they haven't earned with military titles and so forth. Distra trying to rally or overthrow the governor so he can take his place, or the ISB trying to protect the future of their careers, and they don't want this stain of letting these troopers, escape and so forth. So chapter 15, we go to Mara. They're at their evening meal. No one's really talking about business yet because the Commodore likes his food, apparently, but they do go to a conference room. They're talking about some more things. Eventually, the discussion will have to continue. The negotiations will have to continue in the morning. So she goes back to her room. He says, you must stay the night, be my guest. And then she eventually slides out of her room's window. And it's pretty cool. She had this comb in her hair that they inspected thoroughly. It wasn't a weapon, but she takes it apart and re-puts it together as palm grippers so she can scale the wall. And she gets out and she's trying to go up to the roof where she left her lightsaber. Because remember, when she was on the speeder, as they were coming from their ship to the main building there, she was using the Force to trail her lightsaber hidden in her gloves, in her hand, along with them. And she hid it on the roof there. And she goes up and looks for it. It's not there. And then she realizes, did I just mislay it? She says, no, they're the scrape marks of where it was. Somebody stole it. And that means if somebody found it, then they've reported her and they're onto her. They found a lightsaber, for crying out loud, So she goes down, she's looking around. sneaking around the building, and eventually she's fired upon. And it ends up being Brock and Gilling. So the two ISB agents that were sent with her to help her are now making their move, trying to kill her. And this is where her illusion of how people look up to her as the Emperor Hand is a little comes down crashing a little bit. Um, she says, "Don't shoot, it's me," she snapped, clamping down on the pane as she dived towards the nearest console. Her words were punctuated by another shot, this one going wide as it hit the console chest first and rolled over the top. Um, I said, hold your fire, she called again, twisting her neck, peer over her shoulder at her wound. It did not look bad. Are you deaf? No, we heard you just fine, Gilling said. Why don't you come out and make this easy on yourself? What do you think you're doing? Mara demanded. I'm an Imperial officer. No, you're an arrogant little girl who knows more than is good for her, Brock said. Sorry, kid, but we have our orders. Orders from a real Imperial officer. What officer? Mara asked. Captain Ozzel. What, Mara? She asked. Captain Ozzel? That idiot, Gilling scoffed. Hardly. Shut up, Gilling, Brock said. He's right, you know. You're just prolonging the agony. So she learns that they don't look up to her, whether it's because she's a girl or young, probably both, because they say little girl, you know. She's not a real Imperial agent there. And plus, ISB is its own little faction within the Empire, and it's got its own little loyalties, you know, not like the regular stormtroopers.
It really does seem like these two are doing the thing you should never do in this situation: monologuing.
Yep. Yes, we've served. We don't serve that.
To kill the girl, try to kill her, don't talk her to death.
At least that's what Gilling says, and then Brock says, "Shut up!" You know?
Shut up, man. Just shoot her.
And then they do keep talking though, because they do have to keep her talking to figure out where she is. She's hiding in the dark, so they want to keep her talking so they can know where to aim and know where she's moving to. So a little bit, it makes sense. What exactly do I know that has Colonel Somerville so hot and bothered? She sensed the subtle change in their emotions. You're a cute one, I'll give you that, Brock said. From the sound of his voice, Mara could tell he was starting to move toward the left side of the room, toward her position. Just out of curiosity, did you already know about the deserters, or is that what you were looking for in the reprisals computer? Mara frowned. Deserters? I don't know anything about any deserters, she said, and I wouldn't care if I did. That's for the fleet to deal with, not someone like me. No, of course not, Brock said, heavily sarcastic. The Emperor doesn't care if a few stormtroopers run away from their posts, not a bit. Stormtroopers, Mara said, listening hard. This was an old trick. One half of the flanking duo babbled nonstop in order to cover up any sounds, while the other half of the team snuck up onto the victim. Generally speaking, though, the talker wasn't supposed to pepper his diversions with genuinely useful information. Either Brock was simply stupid, not impossible with an ISB man, or else he and Gilling were very sure of themselves. This isn't going to work, you know, Mara called, stretching out with the force and getting a grip on one of the chairs near where the estimated Gilling was about to make his dramatically lethal appearance. Even together, you two can't take me. Oh, I think we can, Brock said. If not, there'll be others along to finish the job. Probably any minute now, actually. And then beneath the chatter, she thought she could hear a subtle sound of a room door sliding open. So he talks about others will be along soon. And I don't think we covered it, but in one of the previous chapters when Colonel Somerville was talking to Colonel Ozzel or Captain Ozzel, and he said, we're going to go there too. We're going to take our ships there. We're just going to destroy the whole planet of pirates with the Emperor's hand there on it, even with my men on it who are there sent to kill her. Should they fail, we're just going to lambast the planet. So that's the plan. Now this door opens to the side and it ends up being the pirates. The pirates have now come upon them as well. The pirates open fire. They kill Brock and Gilling there, but now Mara still has to deal with these pirates. And she's saying, all right, Mara called back, don't shoot. I've got a deal to offer you, which just kind of sounds pathetic at this point, right? And he's like, another deal, the Commodore says. No, a real one this time, Mara said. And he says, no, we're going to kill you, basically. Tanis speaks up and says, no, don't kill her. We could ransom her. Wouldn't that be better? Yeah, we could ransom her and get money. He's trying to save her, right? Now, you could argue that maybe he thinks if she's gone, no one will be there to save his skin or whatever, but he's allied to her. He's got loyalty to her in this moment for whatever reason. And they say, well, we're going to kill you, Tanis, because you're clearly in league with her. But before they can kill Tanis, she uses the force, brings up this piece of debris, smacks the trooper with a gun or whatever. Then she takes the gun out of his hand and starts firing. This is a great trick because they don't know she's able to use the force. he takes the gun out of one of the pirates' hands, starts firing at the other pirates. They're all firing back at that pirate because they think he's shooting at them, so she's able just to kind of slip away. And the Commodore finally gets it. The Commodore finally says, shoot her. She's a Jedi, he says, I think. Well, she's not a Jedi, but that's all he would be able to compare that to. There was no way pirates could grasp such a concept, Mara knew, not with the Jedi long gone, certainly not in the heat of battle, but the more importantly military concept of instant obedience they clearly did understand. Even as their faces clouded over in bewilderment, they abandoned their counterattack on Wagrel, the pirate they were shooting at, and swung their blasters back toward Mara. Taking a step away from her console, she picked up one of the chains with the force and hurled it at a pair of pirates who'd been careless enough to stand too close together. They crashed to the floor, and Mara sent another chain flying into a different part of the group. And as she did so, her peripheral vision caught a glimpse of a silvery metal arcing toward her from the left. Her hand darted up to intercept, wondering which of the pirates had really been so stupid enough to throw a grenade in such close quarters. But it wasn't a grenade. And as her mind belatedly caught up with the evidence of her eyes, she twisted her hand around, shifting it from block to catch, and her lightsaber dropped with a resounding slap into her grip. And you find out that Tanis had been the one who found her lightsaber up there. He says, you thought you were being cute, sly, looking for it. He's like, but I saw it the whole time. And of course she counters with, yeah, but you knew to look for it or whatever. He didn't really. This is her, she messed up a little bit there. But luckily he found it, not them. And it just proves his loyalty to her again. Here's your lightsaber. Now, this gets interesting because as they're trying to escape, Caldra is the one that stops her. Caldra, remember, he was gone for all they knew after the dinner. And he's the one that stops her. He shoots some holes in this liquid, this flammable liquid, and it sends this like firebolt over them. Now, they both duck to the ground, but she gets singed a little bit. Tanis gets burned more badly, actually. But she's talking to Caldra, and Caldra says, Caldra actually calls her. The blaster was silent. Mara left the chuckle. Impressive, Caldra's voice came. Do I have the honor of addressing the Emperor's hand? The Emperor's hand is just a rumor, Mara said. Of course, Caldra said. I'm flattered that the Emperor would send someone like you to stop us. Only the best for you and your patron, Mara said, hoping she's still trying to goad him into saying who his patron is so she can pluck the name from his mind, but it's not working. He eventually just leaves. And she's thinking, what in the world? Why are you, she tries to go pursue him, but then the chapter ends with the fact that, and suddenly the entire building shook as the thunderclap of a distant explosion ripped through the air. Reflexively, Mara threw herself into a crouch beside the nearest ground mover. Another flash of green fire fell from the sky, and a second explosion scattered the dust around her. The pirate base was under attack.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. And, one of the things that most of the EU books do really well, Zahn does it quite well, is you end those chapters, you need little mini arcs. And it's not so much that you fear that your reader's going to suddenly leave off at the end of a chapter and never come back. That's part of it. You want to keep the story progression of the overall book, in one continuous arc. But you also want to keep even each chapter in a little mini arc, because readers will get bored. They don't necessarily need a big, dire cliffhanger at the end of each chapter, but they do need to feel like they're making progress in the story. If you're just stuck world building, if you're just stuck telling this one little part of this character's life or whatever, then they're going to get bored because they sense that the overall arc isn't making progress. And readers sense this unconsciously. It's not like you have to study writing to really know this. They get it unconsciously, and it's what makes people lose interest. So a chapter arc is great. If a chapter has a nice little arc, that keeps them coming back, keeps them turning the page. And the trick, of course, is to make those little mini arcs all progress the main arc at a good pace. Writing's hard work. It's not just an idea. Everybody thinks they can be a writer. Everybody's got an idea for a story. I've got an idea. I'm going to start writing my story. And that's great. You should. If you've got an idea, you learn by doing. But don't think that your story that you finally start writing down for the first time ever is going to go anywhere or do anything without loads of revision, loads of editing, loads of other people telling you all the things that are wrong with it and right with it. That's the writing is a craft. It's like learning how to sculpt from a rock. It really is. And people don't think that because you don't see the big form of rock. You don't see it. The labor isn't as visual, but trust me, as any writer will tell you, the labor is every bit as intense, and you need to learn that skill and hone it. It's a real craft that you need to learn. It's not just, I got an idea, I got to write it down. Well, that's good. That's how it starts. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but this notion that I'm gonna write my story and I'm gonna do a Kickstarter tomorrow.
Mhm.
Good luck. You gotta hone your craft, But anyway, a little bit of a rant there. Anything that you wanted to say, Al, about those chapters that I missed, or anything else about that?
Uh, no, not really. I'm really into seeing what happens with Leia, though.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a nasty situation. Gee, I wonder if she'll make it.
I don't know. Maybe she'll die before
Ooh.
Empire Strikes Back.
And then they'll clone her, and she'll be Leia.
Leia.
With Luke.
The chapters get a little crazy here. We actually don't return to Leia until chapter 18, but chapters 16 and 17 are quite long. Well, not so terribly long. I guess we could try doing 3 chapters. In the book, in my hardcover book, that would mean from page 208 to 246. So it's a good little haul there. If we just did 2 chapters, that would mean 208 to, where am I at here? 16, 17.
208. I'm already at like 250s.
Well, I've got a hardcover, so it's gonna be a little different page count than you. But if we go 2 chapters, that's 208 to 236. So do you want more like 40 or more like 50 pages to read?
Just tell me what chapters we're talking about here. Okay, we got 16, 17, 8, so through 18.
Well, we're definitely going to do 16 and 17. I'm asking you, do you think we should do 18 as well?
I'm trying to see where 18 starts. How much is 18 here? I think we could do 3. I think go through 18.
So yeah, next week we'll do the next 3 chapters for anybody who is reading along or listening to this recording and wanting to read along. Next week will be 16, 17, and 18. That will cover Luke and the Hand of Judgment, where they are, how they're going to meet up with this pirate base, how they tie into all of this, and then it'll cover Mara, what's going to happen to her. We know she obviously survives, just like Leia, because she comes back in the Thrawn trilogy. But then it'll also cover Leia's predicament with Shiv Kyrie there a little bit. So we'll have a good bit to talk about. So I did see some comments and questions in the chat. I'll just briefly kind of go through some of these as before we wrap things up. Xerinx asked, and then you might not even be here anymore, Xerinx, so I apologize, but I was just focusing on the book study first, but I'll answer your question nonetheless. Al will be interested in this too. So Professor Geek, I recently finished watching the entire series of Smallville. I wonder if you'd go through what they got right, wrong, and what's allowable and what's blasphemy in the future. That's a long stream to go through everything in the whole series. I mean, it was 10 seasons. But in general, and I think Al would probably agree, Al was a huge Smallville fan, and I liked it quite a bit too. I think in general, there are a lot of things we could say about it. It was wonderful for absolutely always respecting the spirit of Superman, even the spirit of Christopher Reeve's Superman in particular. Welling was a wonderful cat. The cast was great all around. It was great. The problem is it should have stopped earlier than it did. If they wanted to move him to Metropolis and basically have him doing hero work, Smallville should have ended and they should have been called Metropolis and give him the flipping suit, give him the flipping name. Let's do it, but because they were trying to prolong that, it really got, it was just stupid, some of the choices they made.
It took them too long to fly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about in that universe, Kara's already going around as Supergirl. How is he really the one to inspire everybody and to be the focal point if all these other heroes, established heroes, are already in the world doing hero work around him and he comes in so late? It doesn't make a lot of sense, but wonderful things they did. So many things right. You can't hate it by any means, and you like it quite a bit,
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, but I had a few things at the beginning that were mostly, just superficial, weird, stupid little shippy things.
Yeah.
I hated Lana, okay? From day one.
Al liked his Chloe. Likes his Chloe.
I don't care if she's in jail. I don't care.
Al's team Clark.
I'm team Schlark.
Schlark, is that what you called it? That's weird.
Yeah, well, they always want to say, well, if it's Chloe and Clark, it should be Clark, but it's got to be Schlark.
At least you're not team Klex. Those people were weird and need to go away.
She had better chemistry with Lex than she did with Clark, in my opinion.
Lana did, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I did meet Lana Lang. I told you that story. What's her name? The actress.
Kristen Crook.
Kristen Crook. Yeah, I did meet
Yeah.
Kristen Crook.
Like I said,
Sounded.
I met Allison Mack.
That's right. You did. You got that picture. Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Soundagraver says, did these two ISB officers know how she was the hand? How did these? I think she's asking. If so, they don't have much reverence for the Emperor, which makes me wonder if the Emperor uses the Force. Oh, but she says, never mind. They did know who she was. Yeah, you heard. Yeah, because I know you read this quickly. Soundagraver listened to this as she was going cross country to visit her sister last September or October or whatever it was. I think it was September. Yeah. But yeah, Team Ghost Planet says that God's got a bigger destiny in store for her and Luke. Yeah, or in this universe, the Force, or wherever you want to contextualize it. But yeah, her and Luke are. It's interesting too because you can't have Luke and Mara meet in this book. They're both in this book. They're both integral to the plot, but they can't meet because she can't have ever seen him before because that happens in the Thrawn trilogy. So it's interesting how he's got all these different moving parts and slowly bringing them together, but keeping certain people apart who need to be apart and so forth. Yeah, it's good. Alec Produce says it's why I failed so many times at it. Writing, I think you're talking about. Well, it's why everybody fails so many times at it, Alec. I mean, and that doesn't mean too. There's a great quote. I think it's from Ira Plato or something like that. Or maybe get that wrong, but it basically is something to the effect of, as a beginning artist, whether a writer, musician, art, whatever, you suck. It's nothing personal. It's just because you've never done it before and you need to learn. It doesn't matter what craft or what instrument, what art form you're going at, writing or whatever. But he says the quote goes forth into saying that what you do have that no one can take away from you, what you do have is unique to you, is your taste, your individual ideas, the things that you're going to bring to this world through that art. That's there from the beginning. You need to be content with that and hold on to that as you learn to hone the craft and you don't get distracted. And it doesn't mean that, that story that you start writing for the very first time when you ever set pen to paper or word to screen or whatever, that could still be the story that eventually impacts the world profoundly. It's just going to have to go through a lot of work before it gets there, as you learn the craft and everything. But yeah, I hope I didn't discourage anybody. I'm just trying to be realistic for people. Elijah Brown says, you tell them, bro. Elijah says, I feel Chloe stuck around too long. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I don't mind her sticking around as clearly not a love interest. But she was kind of taking away the reporter thing from them. It was like she was really
she was.
I don't know. There's a way. Yeah, she ended up being Lois, and it was just weird. Yeah, a lot of issues here and there. Oh, Zarink Sissy, so I'm still here. Chloe was the best. She was the most well-rounded character in the series. She was a great character, no lie. Minus the ridiculous writing, I thought Chloe was more real. Yeah. Yep.
And she had better, and I just thought her chemistry with Welling was better too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did have good chemistry with Welling.
Oh yeah, for me, actor chemistry is a huge thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Santa Griver says Brian Namer says get the suck out of your writing. Oh gosh. Let's see. Weakness. Produces distraction is definitely a weakness of mine. I really need an editor, to be brutally honest with me. That's what people need editors for. I've been Sound Engraver is so sweet to be reading my work as a second pair of eyes, as a reader, and as Al's done that before too, and it's really it's so useful. But Sound Engraver, she gets girlfriend privileges because I am a professional editor, so I've been professionally editing her work for her. And she said at first she was a little worried. She's like, I hope you really give me good edits and you aren't like, this is wonderful, honey. And then I gave her my comments on her first draft, and she said, she looked at all the red marks, and she's like, guess I don't have to worry about that now, what that means, though, she's got an amazing story. And I'm not just saying that because I'm her boyfriend. It's really cool. But I did what she wanted me to do. I edited, gave comments and whatnot. And it's cool. It's a cool tale. It's just very, I won't say how she labels it because she's got different labels, ideas for it. But it'll be a cool story. I look forward to reading the rest of it. I'm still going through. So
you monster.
But it's good. It's really good. So that's all for tonight then, folks. Thanks for sticking around and hanging out with us. We're a few minutes over. No, we're not. We're actually under. We started at 9:30. Yeah.
We got 10 minutes.
Yeah. So next, not next week, but 2 weeks from now, we'll be doing 16, 17, and 18 chapters. Next week on Tuesday, it's back to Catholic Bible Geek for Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. For those who are following that study, we'll be over there for that one. Tomorrow night, the plan is still over on my Catholic Bible Geek channel to continue my survey course through the Bible. We're going to be talking about the fall now, the fall, and possibly some Cain and Abel stuff. If I can prep and if I can get all the prep work done, I am kind of taking a little bit of a celebration tonight. It's Fat Tuesday, tomorrow's Ash Wednesday. I'll be taking a bit of a worship day there. I do have to pick up my daughter. I don't think I'm gonna be able to go to mass tomorrow, unfortunately, but it's not a holy day of obligation. It's just something you like to do. But as of right now, I think I still am going to be there for that study. On Thursday, I might come back Friday to give that little rant I was talking about the identity politics characters. I'd probably do that. Saturday, Al, where's the rewatch? What's happening there?
The rewatch this Saturday is on Netters Network, and we're going to be watching the film Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams.
Oh yeah, I've never seen that. I've read the
That's
story.
a good film.
I've never seen that. That's good. Yeah, what time is that?
10 o'clock.
Okay, that's 10 o'clock over there. Then on Monday night, of course, I am not going to forget Sound Engraver. My dear Sound Engraver does a wonderful live stream every Monday with commentary. She did an excellent one last night. People were really enjoying that. It was talking about the aesthetics of art, and she was using the Rings of Power as an example of how you got to get the aesthetics right.
I never saw her geek out as much as she was during the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah, she was going through the languages.
Like, she is in her element, man.
She was having a blast. It was cute to watch.
Yep. That is her fandom.
Yep. It was really cool to watch. And people are enjoying it. She kept apologizing, like, I'm sorry, I'll stop. But people were liking it. That was great. Looking at the different books and the different images and pictures and stuff. It was great. So yeah, thank you, Go Team Ghost Planet. Happy Mardi Gras to you too. And I'll relay that to Fan Man, definitely. He'll come back one of these days, podcast or something or another. We'll get the man back. But he's still doing well. He did.
What is it? Laissez le bon temps rouler.
Laissez le bon temps rouler. Yep.
Let the good times roll.
Indeed.
But just a little self promo for me. I'm still not back to review mode yet. Still kind of, adjusting to a new phase of life here. But I am still doing the rewatches, of course. The other night we did The Naked Gun, but March doing 2 films that I think a lot of people will really like to watch on the, I want to say the 12th. The 12th, we're going to be doing the original 1956 American version of Godzilla.
Oh, Alec Purdue just squeed. He just squeed. I heard him right now, all the way across the country. I heard him.
So yeah, we're going to be watching that one, the American version, not Gojira, but Godzilla King of the Monsters from America. And then 2 weeks after that, 26, we're going to be watching Tremors.
Oh, cool. The original Tremors. That's good.
Yeah,
that's
Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, the original one that started it all.
Yeah, good. And watch for Big Al reviews to come back eventually. They'll be back. Be good to see those again.
I'll get there. I just I need to find that get that zone back again.
Sure.
Plus, I've been doing a lot of other stuff. Mom is now debt free.
That's right. You contacted all the credit cards and everything. Good.
Yep.
Good. All right, folks. So that's all for tonight. Look for me back this week in different various places. I am still monitoring. I did say, last thing I'll say before I say goodbye. Last week I had said, hey, watch out this Thursday or whatever. I'll be live streaming on Matt Wilkins' channel. Well, I didn't realize that wasn't a live stream. He recorded that to come out as one of his a more civilized age podcast things that he does. So I haven't seen him release it yet. It's recorded. His wife just had a second set of twins, so he's got a few things to think about, but he's still piping out his channel. His channel is great. I will when he does release that video, I'll share the link and show everybody. So it was a good discussion we had. It was me, him, RK Outpost, another gentleman who did not have a YouTube channel, and then a girl who was called, I forget the name of her channel. She was a librarian who did reviews. It was a good channel as well. So good discussion. But that's all, folks, for tonight. Last words, Al?
Just want to thank everybody out there who had been praying. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And we will certainly continue to pray for you, and as the adjustment period continues and grief goes on. But I'll see you Wednesday. I'll see you Sunday. Maybe we'll do a short little video or something when I'm up there on my phone or something. We'll see. But that's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love.
Bye, everyone.